On this video, I am reading a great text in the New Testament from the Greek, reading the Greek with an English translation and some running comments. And I thought I would work in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5 to 7. I've done a Greek analysis of it, so I'm not going to be doing that, but just reading the Greek text and commenting on its meaning. So it reads, Idon de tous aklus anebe eis ta oras, kai kathisantas autou, praselthan autou, hoi matatai autou. And when he saw the crowds, he went up into the mountain, and when he had sat down, his disciples came to him. I take this to be Matthew's way of saying, the Sermon on the Mount is given to those that want to be disciples of Jesus. It's teaching for them. And so it reads, verse 2, Kai anoixas ta stoma autou, adidaskin autus legum. And when he opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, and now we begin the Beatitudes. Makarioi hoi patohoi to pneumati, hate auton, estin he basileaton uranon. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for belonging to them is the kingdom of the heavens. It's better to be poor in spirit than arrogant. And I think it means those that feel a need of the Lord, and in their spirit, they need something to fill it and to clothe it with His presence, is, I think, the thought that He then does and fills us when we are, can I say, humble in spirit. So that's the first, and He pronounces a blessing on those that are poor in their spirit and need His comfort. And then verse 4, Makario hoi penthuntes, hate autoi paraklete santai. Happy or blessed are they that mourn, because they shall be comforted. The most, I think the emphasis here is those that mourn for their own sins, as well as for others and what's going on in the world, they shall be comforted. And as we mourn for our own sins, we are promised God's comfort. Verse 5, Makarioi hoi praes hate autoi fleranamesusin tain gain. That is, happy are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. To inherit the earth is the opposite of being non-gentle. Gentleness is commended and encouraged in disciples of Christ. And they're the ones that shall inherit the earth, especially in the coming kingdom of a new heaven and new earth, I believe. But even here, gentleness often wins out over the opposite type of response. And then Makarioi hoi peinontes kai dipsontes tain de kai asunen hate autoi cortas te santai. Happy or blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. As we hunger and as we thirst to do what is right and to be righteous before God, He will fill us with His well done, good and faithful servants, and with His presence. And then verse 7, Makarioi hoi ele emanas hate autoi ele ete santai. Happy or blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. In other words, if we're merciful, God will be merciful to us. And how we need that uh, beatitude applied in life. And then verse 8, Makarioi, hoi, katharoi, te cardia, hate pistoi tanta an apsantai. Happy are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. We need to have a pure heart, a pure mind. We need to be like children in the Lord's presence and have that purity of heart and not having duplicity, or the opposite of a pure heart would be one that is arrogant or one that is double minded, saying one thing but doing another. We need to be turned inside out and be pure in our hearts, he's saying. For it's the pure in heart that will see God and experience him in life. And then makarioi hoi erenapoioi hate autoi huioi ta'u lete santai. Happy are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. How important it is to make peace, and rather than the opposite, to work for peace and reconciliation rather than polarization. And this is such a wonderful series of verses here. And then Makarioi hoi dediogmenoi henaken dekaiasunes hate auton estin he basileia ton uranon. Happy are they who have been persecuted on account of righteousness, because belonging to them is the rule of the heavens. In other words, if you're persecuted because of righteousness, Jesus says, belonging to such is the kingdom of the heavens. In other words, it evidences the fact that we know the Lord and are part of his kingdom. For disciples would be persecuted on account of righteousness, living a righteous life. Then we come to verse 11. Makarioi este hatan ene disosin humas kai dioxusin kai eposin pan paneran kath humon pseudaminoi henakin emu. That is, happy are you when they shall revile you and persecute you and say all evil against you falsely on account of me. And again, he's pronouncing a blessing on those that are persecuted on account of him and on account of his name and in obeying him. Then he says, if that happened, kairete kai agaliaste hateha mistas humon palus in tois udenois hutos gar edioxan tus prophetas tus humon. That is, rejoice and be glad, because your reward is much or great in the heavens. For thus they persecuted the prophets which were before you. If you are persecuted for his name's sake, he said you can rejoice then, because you have a great heavenly reward. For that's the way the prophets were persecuted as well. And so I think the whole point of the Beatitudes is to teach the kind of life that a disciple of Jesus Christ is to have and is to show. It's a beautiful passage, and as believers in Jesus Christ, this should be what our lives should look like.
Amen.